The transport shuttle rattled as it descended through the atmosphere of Apex 7. Tessa Grant sat alone in the passenger compartment, her hands resting calmly on her knees. Through the viewport, she could see the massive structure rising from the planet's surface. The Crucible Arena. Even from this distance, it looked like the mouth of some ancient beast, waiting to swallow her whole. She had seen the statistics. 47 humans had entered this arena over the past decade. 47 humans had died. Most of them never made it past the first round. The galaxy considered it entertainment. Earth considered it a death sentence. But Tessa had volunteered anyway. The shuttle touched down with a metallic groan. Tessa stood, grabbed her small bag and walked toward the exit. She was not a large woman by human standards. She stood at average height with a runner's build, all lean muscle and efficient movement. By galactic standards she was tiny. Fragile. Prey. The landing bay was enormous. Species from across the galaxy moved through the space in clusters. She saw the towering Thorians with their thick armored hides. The quick-moving Mantics with their blade-like limbs. The hulking Krell with scales that could turn away most weapons. And everywhere at the stairs. Hundreds of alien eyes turning toward her, watching the human walk across the bay floor. A voice boomed across the speakers, translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. Attention all competitors. Mandatory assembly in the central arena in 1 standard hour. All participants must attend. Tessa followed the crowd through wide corridors built for species much larger than herself. She had to step carefully to avoid being trampled. A Thorian bumped into her shoulder and sent her stumbling sideways. It did not even notice. She steadied herself and kept walking. The central arena opened before her like a canyon. Tiered seating rose in every direction, already filling with spectators from 1,000 worlds. The arena floor itself was divided into different environmental zones. She could see desert sand in one section, dense jungle growth in another, the ruins of some artificial city in a third. This was where the fights happened. This was where humans came to die. Welcome, competitors. The voice came from above. Tessa looked up to see a massive platform descending from the arena ceiling. Standing on it was Arena Master Crevenael himself. He was easily 4 times her size, his body covered in a thick crimson shell that looked harder than steel. His forearms ended in claws that could crush stone. His eyes, black and multifaceted like a spider's, swept across the gathered fighters below. Another season begins. Crevenael's voice echoed through the arena. The crowd roared in response. 237 warriors from across the galaxy. Only one will claim the title of Arena Champion. Only one will prove themselves the supreme fighter in all known space. Tessa stood quietly among the other competitors. She was the only human present. She could feel the weight of attention on her back. But before we begin, Crevenael continued, his mandibles clicking together in what might have been amusement, let us review history. Let us remember the failures of the past. He gestured with one massive claw, and a holographic display materialized in the air above the arena floor. Humans, soft flesh weaklings from the primitive world of Earth. 47 have entered this arena. 47 have fallen. Most in the very first round. The hologram showed images of previous human competitors. Tessa recognized some of their names from her research. Strong fighters, all of them. Trained warriors. Dead warriors. They come here believing they can compete, Crevenael said. His voice dripped with contempt. They believe their small cunning can overcome superior strength, superior speed, superior evolution. They're always wrong. The crowd laughed. The sound rolled through the arena like thunder. Crevenael's eyes found Tessa in the crowd below. And look, another human has arrived. Another sacrifice to the glory of true warriors. He pointed directly at her with one clawed hand. Human, step forward. The competitors around Tessa moved aside, creating a clear space. She walked forward slowly, her boots scraping against the arena floor. She stopped at the center and looked up at Crevenael hovering above. What is your name, human? The arena master demanded. Tessa Grant, she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. Tessa Grant, Crevenael repeated, making her name sound like an insult. Tell me, Tessa Grant, do you know what happened to the last human who stood where you stand now? She died in round 1, Tessa said. Crushed by a Thorian berserker in 43 seconds. 43 seconds. Crevenael threw his arms wide. And before her? The human male who thought he could use weapons to compensate for his weakness. 31 seconds, Tessa said. Killed by a Mantic's blade dancer. You have done your research, Crevenael said. You know that no human survives round one. You know that your species is inferior in every way that matters in this arena. And yet you came anyway. Why? Tessa looked up at him. The entire arena had gone silent, waiting for her answer. Billions of viewers across the galaxy were watching this broadcast. She could feel the weight of their expectations. They wanted her to beg, to show fear, to confirm everything they believed about humanity. I came to compete, she said simply. Crevenail laughed. It was a harsh, clicking sound that made her teeth vibrate. To compete. The human wishes to compete. He turned to address the crowd. Shall we allow this? Shall we give this soft-flesh creature the honor of dying in our arena? The crowd roared its approval. They wanted blood. They wanted entertainment. They wanted to see another human fall. Crevenail turned back to Tessa. Your first opponent will be Rathgor of the Krell Empire. He has won 17 consecutive fights. He has never shown mercy. He will tear you apart slowly so the crowd can savor your screams. The arena master leaned down from his platform, bringing his massive head closer to her. You will not survive round one, human. No member of your pathetic species ever has. Tessa looked directly into his multifaceted eyes. Around her, the arena held its breath. And then she spoke, her voice carrying clearly through the silence. Then watch closely. The crowd erupted. Some in anger at her audacity. Some in laughter at her foolishness. But Crevenail did not laugh. His mandibles went still. For just a moment, something flickered in his alien eyes. Surprise perhaps. Or the first tiny seed of doubt. The arena master pulled back to his full height. Bold words for one so weak, he said. We shall see if you can back them with action. Round one begins tomorrow at dawn. Prepare yourself, Tessa Grant. Your death awaits. The platform rose back toward the ceiling, carrying Crevenail away. The crowd began to disperse, competitors moving toward their assigned quarters. But Tessa remained standing in the center of the arena floor for a long moment, looking up at the alien sky visible through the open roof above. Tomorrow the fighting would begin. Tomorrow she would show them what humans could do. She turned and walked toward the exit, ready to prepare. Dawn came too quickly. Tessa stood in the preparation chamber, checking her equipment one final time. She wore minimal armor, just enough to protect vital areas without adding weight. Light boots designed for long distances. A simple blade at her hip. Nothing fancy. Nothing that would slow her down. The door opened with a hiss. Greg, her human coach, stepped inside. He looked worried. He had been worried since they arrived on Apex 7. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Yes, I do, Tessa replied. She stretched her legs, feeling the muscles respond. Good. She felt strong. Rested. Ready. Rathgor has killed 12 opponents in this arena, Greg continued. He's faster than you. Stronger than you. His scales can turn away most weapons. Tessa, he's built for this. So am I, she said. Just differently. The speakers crackled to life. Competitor Tessa Grant. Report to entrance gate 7. Round 1 begins in 5 minutes. Tessa walked toward the door. Greg grabbed her shoulder. Run if you need to, he said. There's no shame in survival. She smiled at him. That's exactly what I plan to do. The tunnel leading to the arena floor was dark and cold. Tessa could hear the crowd above, thousands of voices merged into one hungry roar. They wanted violence. They wanted death. She took a deep breath and kept walking. The gate opened and sunlight blinded her for a moment. When her eyes adjusted, she saw the arena floor had been transformed. The entire space was now covered in deep golden sand. Heat waves shimmered in the air. Artificial suns blazed overhead, turning the arena into a desert wasteland. Temperature sensors on her wrist showed 43 degrees Celsius. Hot. Very hot. Across the arena, another gate opened. Rathgor emerged. He was enormous. 3 meters tall, covered in dark green scales that overlapped like armor plates. His legs were thick and muscular, built for explosive speed. His arms ended in claws that could rip through metal. Yellow eyes fixed on Tessa with pure predatory focus. He opened his mouth and released a hissing roar that made the crowd scream with excitement. Crevenail's voice boomed across the arena. Round 1. No time limit. No surrender. Fight until one cannot continue. A massive gong sounded. Begin. Rathgor charged immediately. His powerful legs drove him forward with incredible speed. Sand exploded behind him as he closed the distance. 50 meters. 40. 30. Tessa turned and ran. The crowd booed instantly. Coward. someone screamed in a language she could not understand. But the translation came through her earpiece anyway. More insults followed. More jeering. They wanted her to stand and fight. They wanted her to die with honor. She ignored them and kept running. Rathgor pursued with terrifying speed. He was gaining on her quickly. Tessa could hear his heavy breathing, the thud of his feet in the sand. She pushed herself harder, legs pumping, arms driving. She headed toward the far side of the arena where the sand looked deeper and softer. Rathgor was only 10 meters behind now. He roared again, confident in his approaching victory. 5 meters. 3. He raised his claws to strike. Tessa suddenly cut left, changing direction sharply. Rathgor tried to follow, but his momentum carried him forward. His feet slipped in the loose sand. He stumbled but caught himself, snarling in frustration. She kept running. Not in a straight line now, but weaving, changing direction, forcing him to adjust constantly. The deep sand made every step harder. She could feel the heat radiating up from the ground, baking through her boots. Sweat ran down her face. Good. She needed to sweat. Sweating kept her cool. Rathgor charged again. Again she evaded at the last moment. The crowd's booing had changed slightly. Some spectators were confused now. A few were actually watching with interest instead of contempt. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Rathgor kept chasing. He was still faster than Tessa in short bursts, but she never let him catch her. She used the terrain, running through the deepest sand where his heavier body sank further. She used sharp turns that his greater mass made difficult. She used distance, always staying just out of reach. 15 minutes. Rathgor's breathing was getting louder. Harsher. His charges were not quite as explosive as before. Tessa's lungs burned and her legs ached, but she maintained her pace. Steady. Consistent. She had run much longer distances in much worse conditions during training. 20 minutes. The crowd had gone quieter. Some were leaning forward in their seats. In the broadcast booth, alien commentators were starting to discuss what they were seeing. The human is not fighting, one said. No, another replied. But look at the Krell warrior. He is slowing down. It was true. Rathgor's movements had become labored. His mouth hung open, tongue lolling out. Reptilian biology was not designed for sustained activity. He was a creature of ambush and overwhelming force, meant to kill quickly and rest. But there was no rest here. Only endless running in the burning heat. 25 minutes. Rathgor stumbled. He caught himself, shook his massive head and tried to charge again. But his legs were shaking now. His scales, which had seemed like perfect armor, were now conducting heat directly into his body. He had no sweat glands. No way to cool down. His internal temperature was rising toward dangerous levels. Tessa stopped running. She turned to face him, her chest heaving but her stance steady. Rathgor saw her standing there and roared with what remained of his strength. He charged one final time. She waited. Wash. At the last moment she stepped aside. Rathgor's claws swept through empty air. His momentum carried him forward, and this time when his legs buckled, he fell. He hit the sand hard and tried to rise, but his body would not obey. Tessa approached carefully, blade drawn. But Rathgor was not getting up. His eyes rolled wildly. His breathing came in desperate gasps. He had pushed his body past its limits, and now heat exhaustion had taken hold. The crowd sat in shocked silence. This was not how fights ended in the Crucible arena. Where was the blood? Where was the dramatic final blow? Tessa stood over Rathgor. She could finish him now. One strike to the throat. That was what the crowd wanted. What they expected. Instead, she sheathed her blade and stepped back. Medical team to the arena floor, she called out. He needs cooling treatment or he will die. Crevenale's voice came slowly, reluctantly. The human wins. Round 1 goes to Tessa Grant. The crowd exploded. Half in outrage, half in disbelief. In the preparation chambers, other fighters stopped what they were doing and stared at the screens. A human had won. A human had survived round 1. Not through superior strength or speed, but through something they had not considered. Endurance. Tessa walked back toward her gate, her legs steady despite the exhaustion. Behind her, medical teams rushed to save Rathgor's life. Above her, in his private booth, Arena Master Crevenale gripped the railing with all 4 hands, his mandibles clicking rapidly. The human had not fought like a warrior. She had fought like a hunter. And she had won. The announcement came that evening through every screen in the competitor quarters. Crevenale's face filled the displays, his mandibles clicking with barely controlled anger. Due to unforeseen circumstances in today's match, The Crucible Arena rules are being modified, he said. All future rounds will have a maximum time limit of 15 minutes. If no clear victor emerges, both fighters will be disqualified. This will ensure that matches remain entertaining and decisive. Tessa sat on her bunk and smiled. The rule change was obvious. Crevenael wanted to eliminate her advantage. 15 minutes was not enough time to exhaust most opponents. She would have to adapt. Greg paced the small room. This is targeted directly at you. They are changing centuries of tradition just to stop one human. Good, Tessa said. That means they are worried. Worried? Tessa, your next opponent is Scylla. Do you know what she is? Mantic's assassin. Insectoid biology. Venomous. Prefers ambush tactics. Tessa had studied the footage. Scylla had won all her previous fights in under 3 minutes. Fast kills. Clean kills. She was a predator who struck from darkness. Her venom has killed 16 opponents, Greg said. One drop is enough. It paralyzes the nervous system in seconds. You will not even feel yourself dying. Then I will not let her sting me, Tessa replied simply. The next morning, Tessa stood at her gate and watched as the arena transformed again. The desert sand disappeared, replaced by dense jungle growth. Massive trees rose from the floor, their canopies blocking most of the light. Thick vines hung everywhere. The artificial suns dimmed to twilight. This was Scylla's preferred environment. Shadows and cover. Perfect for an ambush predator. The gong sounded. Tessa moved immediately into the jungle, keeping low. She could not see Scylla anywhere. That was the point. Mantics were masters of camouflage. Scylla could be anywhere, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Tessa focused on her breathing. Slow. Steady. She listened to the artificial jungle around her. The rustle of leaves. The creak of branches. She watched for movement, for anything out of place. 3 minutes passed. The crowd was getting restless. They could barely see either fighter in the dense growth. Cameras struggled to track movement through the foliage. Then Tessa heard it. The softest scrape of chitin against bark. Above and behind her. She dove forward just as Scylla dropped from the canopy, her blade-like limbs cutting through the space where Tessa's head had been a moment before. The Mantic's assassin was beautiful and terrible. Her body was sleek and segmented, colored in patterns that shifted to match her surroundings. 4 arms, each ending in a razor-sharp point. And at the end of her abdomen, a curved stinger glistening with venom. Scylla hissed and attacked again. Her movements were impossibly fast, her limbs striking from multiple angles at once. Tessa blocked with her blade, deflected, rolled away. She could not match that speed. Could not fight directly. She ran deeper into the jungle. Scylla pursued, moving through the trees like a spider, sometimes on the ground, sometimes in the branches above. Tessa could hear her clicking mandibles, a sound like laughter. 7 minutes gone. Tessa's mind raced. The time limit was working against her, but it was also information. Scylla knew she had time on her side. She could be patient. Wait for the perfect opening. Tessa deliberately stumbled over a root. She fell hard, rolled, came up slower than necessary. Vulnerable. Scylla saw the opportunity and struck immediately, dropping from above with all 4 limbs aimed at Tessa's torso. But Tessa was already moving. She had expected the attack from above. Scylla always attacked from above when she saw weakness. It was her pattern. Her instinct. Tessa rolled left and Scylla's limbs stabbed into empty ground. For 1 second the assassin was off balance. Tessa's blade flashed out, cutting across Scylla's forward right limb. Not deep enough to sever but enough to wound. Green blood dripped onto the jungle floor. Scylla shrieked in rage and pain. She had never been hit first. Never been the one to bleed. She vanished back into the foliage, but now Tessa could track her. The blood left a trail. Drops on leaves. Smears on bark. 9 minutes. 10. Scylla attacked again, but this time Tessa was ready. She had seen the pattern now. High attack, low retreat. Circle left, strike from the right. Every assassin had patterns, habits built from thousands of successful kills. Scylla was no different. Tessa baited another attack, offering her back while appearing to search for her opponent. Scylla came from the right just as expected. Tessa spun and caught the stinger arm with her blade, deflecting it away from her body. The venomous tip passed centimeters from her face. But Scylla was desperate now. Time was running out. She abandoned caution and pressed the attack, all 4 limbs striking in a blur. One blade caught Tessa's shoulder, cutting through armor and flesh. Another grazed her thigh. And then the stinger struck, piercing her left arm just below the elbow. The crowd gasped. The venom was injected. Scylla pulled back, waiting for the paralysis to begin. Waiting for Tessa to fall. Tessa felt the burn spread through her arm. It hurt. The pain was intense, like fire in her veins. But she did not fall. She did not stop moving. Scylla's eyes widened in confusion. The venom should have worked. It always worked. But the human was still standing. Still moving. Still dangerous. What Scylla did not know was that human evolution had been shaped by a world with millions of different toxins. Snakes, spiders, plants, insects. Human bodies had developed robust immune responses, adaptable livers, and high pain tolerance. Scylla's venom was powerful, but it was designed for alien physiologies. For humans it was painful but not immediately fatal. Tessa's left arm was weakening. She could feel it growing numb. But she had another arm. She switched her blade to her right hand and advanced. 12 minutes. 13. Scylla was panicking now. Her guaranteed kill had failed. She attacked wildly, abandoning all strategy. Tessa watched the patterns break down into chaos. And in chaos there were openings. When Scylla overextended on a high strike, Tessa went low. Her blade found the joint between segments in Scylla's thorax. The assassin shrieked and stumbled back. Green blood flowed freely now. 14 minutes. The countdown appeared on screens throughout the arena. 30 seconds remaining. Scylla tried to retreat, to hide, to survive until time ran out and they were both disqualified. But Tessa did not let her. She pressed forward, driving the wounded assassin back against a massive tree trunk. Scylla tried to climb, but her wounded limb would not support her weight. She fell back to the ground, trapped. "Yield," Tessa said. Her voice was strained with pain but clear. Scylla's mandibles clicked rapidly. Yield was not in an assassin's vocabulary. She prepared for one final desperate strike. The gong sounded. Time was up. But Crevenail's voice came slowly. The human drew first blood. The human struck the decisive blow. The victor is Tessa Grant. The crowd erupted in confused noise. Some cheered. Some argued. In viewing rooms across the galaxy, analysts were already reviewing the footage. A human had survived venom that should have killed her. A human had recognized and exploited an opponent's patterns. A human had adapted mid-fight. The phrase began spreading through social networks and sports channels. Human combat methods. 3 words that would change how the galaxy thought about warfare. Tessa walked back to her gate, cradling her poisoned arm. It would heal. She would be ready for the next round. Above, Crevenail gripped his throne with all 4 hands, watching the human disappear into the tunnel. This was not entertainment anymore. This was something else. Something dangerous. 3 days had passed since the fight with Scylla. Tessa's arm had healed enough to use, though it still ached when she gripped her blade too tightly. The medics had been fascinated by her recovery. They had expected her to be dead or permanently damaged. Instead, she was ready to fight again. The semi-finals had arrived. Only 4 fighters remained from the original 237. Tessa was the only human to ever reach this stage. The entire galaxy was watching now. Viewing numbers had broken records. Everyone wanted to see if the human's luck would finally run out. Greg showed her footage of her next opponent. Zorneke. Thorian Berserker. He has won 43 consecutive arena fights across 5 different planets. He has never been knocked down. Never shown pain. Never retreated. Tessa watched the screen. Zorneke was a mountain of muscle and armor. His body was covered in thick gray plates that overlapped like stone tiles. He stood 4 meters tall and weighed at least 500 kilograms. In his previous fights he had simply walked forward and destroyed everything in his path. Blades broke against his hide. Energy weapons barely scorched him. Opponents tired themselves trying to hurt him and then he crushed them. He cannot be exhausted like Rathgor, Greg said. Thorian biology is built for sustained combat. And you cannot poison him like Scylla tried with others. His armor is too thick to penetrate easily. Then I will have to try something different, Tessa said. Before the match, arena officials brought her to a small room for a mandatory interview. It would be broadcast to billions of viewers. A spider-like alien held a recording device in front of her face. Tessa Grant, you have shocked the galaxy by reaching the semifinals. What is your secret? Tessa thought carefully before answering. There is no secret. Humans are persistence hunters. We evolved by chasing prey until it collapsed. We think in patterns. We adapt. These are not special abilities. They are just what humans do. And what about Zorneke? How will you defeat an opponent you cannot hurt? I will find a way, Tessa said. Humans always do. The arena had been transformed again. This time it was a mixture of all previous environments. Desert sand on one side, jungle growth on another, urban ruins in the center. The arena masters wanted to test both fighters across multiple terrains. Zornake entered from the opposite gate. The crowd roared at the sight of him. He was a favorite, a proven champion. He raised his massive arms and bellowed a challenge that shook the arena walls. Tessa entered quietly. The crowd's reaction was mixed now. Some still booed her. Others cheered. She had earned grudging respect, even from those who hated humans. The gong sounded. Zornake charged immediately, just as his footage had shown. He did not run like Wrathgore. He advanced like a siege engine, steady and unstoppable. His armored feet cracked the arena floor with each step. Tessa moved toward the ruins. She needed obstacles, angles, anything to work with. Zornake followed, crashing through a half-collapsed wall like it was paper. Dust and debris exploded outward. She led him deeper into the ruins, weaving between broken columns and shattered buildings. Zornake followed, destroying everything in his path. He was not even trying to catch her yet. He was just pursuing, conserving energy, waiting for her to make a mistake. 5 minutes passed. Tessa struck at him 3 times, testing his armor at different points. Her blade skittered off his plates without leaving a mark. The crowd laughed. What did the human expect? Everyone knew Thorian armor could not be cut. But Tessa was not trying to cut him. She was gathering information. The armor was thickest on his chest and back. Thinner at the joints. She could see the gaps now, the small spaces where the plates met to allow movement. Shoulder joints. Elbow joints. Behind the knees. 8 minutes. She changed tactics. Instead of running away, she started circling him. Zornake turned to follow her movement, pivoting on his heavy legs. She circled faster. He turned faster. She darted left then right. He followed each movement, growing frustrated. Stand and fight, coward. His voice was like grinding stones. Make me, Tessa replied. The crowd was confused again. This did not look like fighting. It looked like a dance. But veteran warriors in the audience were leaning forward, watching carefully. They saw what was happening. The human was testing him. Learning his patterns. His reaction time. His blind spots. 10 minutes. Tessa suddenly sprinted straight at him. Zornake grinned and swung one massive fist down where she would be. But she slid under the blow, passing between his legs. As she passed, her blade struck upward at the back of his knee joint where the armor gap was widest. The blade bit deep. Not enough to cripple but enough to hurt. Zornake roared and spun around. For the first time in 43 fights he had been wounded. Tessa was already moving again. She had what she needed now. Confirmation that the joints were vulnerable. And something else. Something more important. You are slow, she called out to him. Your armor makes you slow. You cannot catch me. You cannot hurt me. You are just a target. Zornake's eyes narrowed. Lies. I am unstoppable. Then why are you bleeding? Tessa pointed at the green fluid dripping from his knee joint. Rage flooded Zornake's face. No one spoke to him this way. No one questioned his power. He charged at her with renewed fury, abandoning his careful approach. He wanted to crush her. To silence her mocking voice. Tessa led him in a straight line across the arena, toward a section where sand met jungle. Zornake crashed after her, his wounded leg slowing him slightly but his anger driving him forward. She stopped suddenly at the jungle edge and turned to face him. You know what the problem is with armor? She said. It protects you from others. But it also traps you inside. Zornake did not understand. He swung both fists at her. She ducked and rolled, coming up behind him. Her blade struck the back of his other knee. Another wound. He stumbled but did not fall. Stop running, he bellowed. Stop being predictable, she replied. 12 minutes. Zornake was moving more carefully now. Both knees were damaged. Each step caused pain. But pain meant nothing to a Thorian berserker. Pain only made them angrier. Tessa knew she could not win through injury alone. She needed something else. She needed to break his mind before she could break his body. Do you know how many fights I have watched you win? She asked, circling him again. 43. Every single one the same. You walk forward. They try to hurt you. They fail. You crush them. The same pattern every time. It works, Zornake growled. Against everyone but me. Tessa struck at his elbow joint. The blade scraped across armor but found a gap. Another cut. You are not unstoppable. You are just predictable. And predictable means vulnerable. Zornake's breathing became heavier. Not from exhaustion. From doubt. For the first time in his career, an opponent had lasted this long. Had hurt him. Had made him question himself. 13 minutes. Tessa pressed her advantage. After today, everyone will know the truth. Thorian berserkers can be beaten. The armor does not matter. The strength does not matter. Because you cannot adapt. You cannot change. You are trapped by your own success. No. Zornake charged wildly, all strategy abandoned. Tessa waited until the last moment, then dropped flat. His momentum carried him forward, his damaged knees unable to stop. He crashed into a stone column and fell for the first time in his life. He tried to rise, but his joints would not support his weight properly. The accumulation of small wounds, combined with exhaustion and psychological defeat, had finally stopped him. He knelt in the sand, breathing hard, unable to continue. The gong sounded. Silence filled the arena. Then, slowly, the crowd began to cheer. They had witnessed something impossible. Crevenail's voice came across the speakers, tight with barely controlled fury. The human advances to the finals. He paused. I invoke Master's right. I will face her myself. Tomorrow. We end this. The crowd went insane. The arena master had not fought in 20 years. But tomorrow he would enter the arena to destroy the human who had embarrassed his tournament. Tessa looked up at his booth and nodded once. She was ready. The night before the finals, Tessa could not sleep. She lay in her bunk staring at the ceiling while Greg sat in the corner reviewing footage of Crevenail's old fights. There was not much to study. The arena master had not competed in 2 decades. The last time he entered the arena, he had been younger, faster, and had destroyed his opponent in less than 2 minutes. He will be different now, Greg said quietly. Older, maybe slower, but also smarter, more experienced, and angrier than any opponent you have faced. I know, Tessa said. She did know. She had seen the rage in Crevenail's eyes when he made the announcement. This was personal now. She had embarrassed him in front of the entire galaxy. He wanted to prove that humans were still inferior, that her victories were just luck. Morning came. The arena was packed beyond capacity. Billions more watched from across the galaxy. This was the most viewed event in Crucible Arena history. Human versus Arena Master. Earth versus the established order. Tessa walked through the tunnel toward her gate. Her body was covered in bruises and healing wounds from the previous fights. Her left arm still ached from Sila's venom. Her muscles were tired. But her mind was clear. She knew what she had to do. The arena floor had been transformed one final time. Every environment was present. Desert, jungle, ruins, and new additions. Water features. Rocky cliffs. Open plains. The entire space was a test of adaptability. Whoever could master all terrains would win. Crevenail's gate opened first. He emerged to deafening cheers from his supporters. He wore ceremonial armor polished to a mirror shine. 4 swords, one in each hand, each blade as long as Tessa was tall. His crimson shell gleamed under the artificial suns. He looked like a war god from ancient mythology. Tessa's gate opened. She stepped onto the sand wearing her simple armor and carrying her single blade. The contrast was obvious. She looked tiny, fragile, outmatched. Before the gong sounded, Crevenail spoke. His voice carried to every corner of the arena and across every broadcast channel. Tessa Grant, you have made a mockery of this arena. You have won through tricks and cowardice. Today I will show the galaxy what happens when a human faces a true warrior. I will break you slowly. Your species will remember this day as the moment they learned their place. The crowd roared approval. Tessa waited until the noise died down. Then she spoke, her voice quiet but clear. I am not here to prove humans are the strongest. I am here to prove we think differently. She looked directly at Crevenail. And that makes us dangerous. The gong sounded. Crevenail moved with shocking speed for his size. All 4 arms swung in coordinated patterns, the swords cutting through air with deadly precision. Tessa barely dodged the first combination. The blades passed close enough that she felt the wind from their passage. She retreated toward the ruins. Crevenail pursued, his movements efficient and practiced. He was not charging mindlessly like Zor. He was not relying on single advantages like Rathgor or Sila. He was a complete fighter with decades of experience. 3 minutes passed. Tessa had not counterattacked once. She focused entirely on evasion, studying his patterns. Each sword followed specific paths. His upper right always led attacks. His lower left defended his core. The pattern was complex, but it was still a pattern. 5 minutes. Crevenail pressed harder, driving her toward the desert section. The sand would slow her down. Make evasion more difficult. He was controlling the battlefield, forcing her into disadvantageous positions. Is this all you can do? Crevenael taunted. Run and hide like prey? I am learning, Tessa replied. She ducked under a high slash and rolled away from a low thrust. You telegraph your attacks. Upper right sword always moves first. Your lower left protects your center. You pivot counterclockwise when pressured from the right. Crevenael's mandibles clicked in surprise. She had been analyzing him, reading his techniques. Knowledge means nothing without the strength to use it. We will see, Tessa said. 8 minutes. She started testing him now. Quick strikes at his armored legs. Feints toward his center. Nothing committed. Just gathering more information. His armor was thicker than Zoraneke's but still had gaps at the joints. His lower body was his foundation. If she could damage his mobility, his sword work would suffer. 10 minutes. Crevenael was breathing heavier now. Not exhausted but working harder than expected. This human would not stand still. Would not make mistakes. Every time he thought he had her trapped, she found an escape route. Tessa noticed something. When Crevenael attacked with all 4 swords simultaneously, there was a brief moment of overextension. A tiny window where his center was exposed. She filed that information away. 12 minutes. She changed tactics again. Instead of retreating, she started moving laterally, circling him. Crevenael turned to follow just like Zoraneke had. But Crevenael was smarter. He did not turn predictably. He varied his speed and direction, trying to cut off her angles. But Tessa was watching for those variations. She was mapping his decision tree. When she went left, he went right 80% of the time. When she feinted high, he defended low 70% of the time. Even the most experienced fighter had habits. Preferences. Patterns built from 10,000 hours of practice. 15 minutes. Tessa finally went on the offensive. She rushed in as if making a desperate attack. Crevenael's 4 swords moved to intercept, creating a deadly cage of blades. But at the last instant, she dropped and slid under his guard, her blade cutting across the back of his left knee joint. First blood. The crowd gasped. Crevenael roared and spun, all 4 swords sweeping in a circle that should have cut her in half. But she had already rolled clear, predicting the exact response. You are good, she said. Better than the others. But you still follow patterns. Your training is perfect. Too perfect. You cannot improvise. Silence. Crevenael charged, abandoning his careful approach. Rage was taking over, just like it had with Zoraneke. Tessa had counted on this. Emotion was predictable. 18 minutes. She led him through the water features, forcing him to adjust his footing constantly. His heavy armor made him sink into the shallow pools. Each step required more effort. Meanwhile, her lighter build allowed her to move across the surface more easily. 20 minutes. Crevenael was slowing now. Not dramatically but measurably. His breath came in rasping gulps. His sword swings were still dangerous but fractionally slower than before. Tessa's persistent strategy was working again, but this time combined with psychological pressure. Do you know what will happen when you lose? She asked, dancing just beyond his reach. Every species will question you. They will wonder if their arena masters are also vulnerable. If their champions are also predictable. You are not just fighting me. You are fighting the idea that humans cannot compete. I will not lose. Crevenael swung all 4 swords in his most powerful combination. Tessa saw the overextension she had been waiting for. She moved inside his guard, her blade finding the gap between his chest plates. Not deep but enough. More blood flowed. 23 minutes. Crevenael was breathing hard now. His armor, meant to protect him, was cooking him alive under the artificial suns. Tessa's words were in his head, breaking his concentration. And his body was finally acknowledging what his pride would not. He was tired. Tessa pressed harder. Every word calculated to increase his doubt. How many are watching right now? 40 billion? 50? All of them seeing you struggle against one small human. All of them realizing that size and strength are not enough. That humans fight with our minds first. No. Crevenael tried another charge but his legs were too slow. Tessa stepped aside and cut the back of his other knee. Both legs damaged now. He stumbled but caught himself. 26 minutes. The longest fight in modern Crucible arena history. Crevenael's swords were shaking. His breath came in painful gasps. Small cuts covered his joints. None were fatal, but together they had done what no single blow could do. They had broken his body down piece by piece. Tessa stood before him, barely winded despite the length of the fight. Human endurance. Human adaptability. Human pattern recognition. All working together. Yield, she said quietly. There is no shame in it. You fought well. But this is over. Crevenale looked at her with his multifaceted eyes. She saw the war happening inside him. Pride versus reality. Ego versus survival. For a long moment he stood trembling, swords raised. Then, slowly he lowered his weapons. All 4 swords touched the arena floor. I yield, he said. The words came out barely above a whisper. The arena exploded into chaos. Some spectators screamed in outrage. Others cheered wildly. The arena master had surrendered. For the first time in the Crucible's 300-year history, an arena master had admitted defeat. Tessa walked over to Crevenale and extended her hand. Human gesture. Peace offering. After a moment, he reached down with one massive claw and touched her palm gently. How? He asked. I told you to watch closely, she replied. Later that day, requests flooded in from military academies across 40 different species. They all wanted to study human combat methods, persistence tactics, pattern recognition, psychological warfare. The galaxy was learning that humans were not weak, just different. Tessa stood at the transport shuttle ready to return to Earth. Greg was with her, grinning widely. Champion of the Crucible Arena, he said. How does it feel? Tessa looked back at the massive structure one final time. It feels like the beginning, she said. They understand now. Humans belong here. Not because we are the strongest, but because we think differently. The shuttle lifted off, carrying her home. Behind her, the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again.